Hi everybody, this is Matt Bisogno from mattbisogno.com and welcome to the first in a series of videos that I hope will inspire you and arm you with enough knowledge and information to go away and start your own online business. This is the first in a series of videos, as I say, and let's start with an overview of what you're going to learn in this series. So it's a game of 4 quarters. The first part, which is today, I want to talk about market research and mindset. These really are the beginnings, the cornerstones, if you like, of everything that follows. And if you're tempted to skip this, I can pretty much guarantee you are going to fail. They may not be the most glamorous aspects of the process, but believe me, they are the most important. Do not skip today's lesson. Okay, lecture over. So moving forwards after today, we'll get into the actual doing stuff, if you like, starting with part 2, coming in about a week's time. And in part 2, I want to talk about your blog. Or blog, if you would prefer. I'm going to show you how to set up a website, and this can be one click. Yes, one click. More importantly, and more technically probably, how to make your site look attractive both to human visitors and also to robots, specifically Google's robots and Yahoo's and Bing's and the other search engines who come and have a look at your site and try to find out what it's about, so that they can index it in the right place so that people can find you when they're searching for the kind of stuff you have. Phew. Okay, and that leads us on to part 3, which is about getting and keeping website visitors. So I'm going to touch on what I call SEO 101 there. Now, SEO is search engine optimization. It's an interesting subject, it's a deep subject, and I'm just going to cover the basics, which actually on Pareto's principle of 80-20 will get you as far as you need to go, certainly to begin with. So that's that. I'm going to talk about interaction and interactivity and stickability, if you like, this is nothing to do with search engines. This is to do with good old human behavior, and aligned to that, I'm also going to talk about going social. Excuse the terrible spelling. I want to talk a little bit about things that actually arguably I'm not brilliantly well placed to discuss, and that's using the likes of Twitter and Facebook. There are certainly people in my own niche of horse racing who are much more adroit at using those social functions than I am, and I've been very impressed, if I'm honest, with the number of followers and supporters they've managed to garner using those processes. So I'll talk about that in part 3, and in part 4, and it might surprise you that this comes last, we'll finally get to talk about product related stuff. It's very important to understand that you have a market for what you're planning to sell before you start creating a product. This is a classic mistake of so many people, both online and offline. They have a great idea. Nothing wrong with that. Great ideas are great ideas very often, but great ideas require testing and validation. And that's why we do the first parts of the process, because without that we can make some very expensive and very distressing mistakes in our business career, and we really want to avoid that. So we will of course get to the product stuff, but we will do our due diligence and our first steps first, and we'll do our product stuff towards the end of this whirlwind process introduction. Okay, so under that we'll cover affiliate products, different types of products, and the kind of attributes that your product must have if you hope to sell any quantity of it. Right, without further ado, let's crack on with my ghetto presentation. No expense spared, as you will be accustomed to by now. And today, as I've said, I want to talk about the basics. And the first thing I want to talk about is mindset. And the reason I want to talk about this is because any time I've been to the pub with a group of people, some of whom are my friends or associates, and some of them are kind of friends of friends, and we've discussed what I do, somebody has always said, oh yeah, I want to run my own business. Oh yeah, I thought about that, I tried that, it didn't work. Whatever, something related to their own experience, either in the past or aspirationally in the future. And I have quite a strong view on why a lot of internet businesses don't work, and it's generally related to either a lack of knowledge, a lack of motivation, a lack of belief, which is a massive one, and or a lack of focus. Knowledge, belief, motivation and focus. Right, we're talking about a business. We're not talking about going to the park for a kick around. We're not talking about going to the pub for a pint. We're talking about something that, if you're serious about it, you're allocating time on a weekly and probably on a daily or many times weekly basis. If you can't really commit to that, if you don't think it's worth the effort, then it's probably not going to work for you. And I say that advisedly because when I first started, I came into it, I suppose, half-arsed, excuse me. I wasn't really focused, I wasn't motivated, especially. I wanted to succeed, but I didn't really know how to. And because it was a leap of faith from being a wage slave to being a business owner, I lacked a bit of self-belief as well. So basically, I didn't tick any of the boxes when I started. And as a consequence of that, it was no surprise to most people that I failed when I started. I actually went skint and I had to go back and get a job. But I always carried on with what I had started in the background, and building it up slowly. I retained my commitment to it, to the thing that was working the best, and that was a product, a horse racing product and a horse racing blog site. And I was able to build it up to a point when I could leave my new job and start again. So I want you to ask yourself some questions, and you need to be honest with yourself, because there's a potential for you to waste your own time, and that time is precious, however we spend it. So these are my 4 questions. Firstly, are you sure you want to do this? Have you thought about the implications of running a business, even a part-time business? Part-time for most people is going to be at least 8 to 10 hours a week. That's 2 hours a night, 5 nights a week. So are you sure that you want to do that? If you are, brilliant, because I'm sure I can help you. And the second question is, do you know specifically what you want and why you want it? So most people's motivation or driver is that they don't like what they have now, that they're not happy with their lot currently. And as a motivator to get started, that's pretty good. But in terms of carrying you forward, it's probably not enough. And the reason for that is because you don't really have an end point in mind. So you won't know what you've achieved or when you've achieved it, because you haven't got like a route map to take you there. So it's my opinion that it's very important to know what your objectives are, and they might be monetary, they might be time wise, they can be anything, but they should have a modicum of specificity about them. That's easy for me to say. So spend some time on this. Spend 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever, with a pen and paper, and write down what you want to achieve, what you hope to achieve. Write it down in terms of your time and how you spend it now and how you'd like to spend it. Write it down in terms of money and how much you have now and how much you need or want. And if you're like me, then I used to earn more, or at least about the same as I do now. I was a pretty highly paid contractor in IT, but I hated it. And now I get paid the same amount, pretty much, less this year, if I'm honest, because there's a recession on, and I'm giving more stuff away and selling less stuff because people haven't got money. That's fine. I know if I look after people now, then when the good times come again, some of those will look after me, and that's the way I see the world. But the point is that I didn't need all the money that I was earning before. What I needed was an easier and better life, was a more comfortable life, was a life that I was more engaged in, and my passion is racing. So now I write about racing, and I earn my money through my business that way. So please think in specific terms about what you want, and that won't just be financial. It will be about time freedom and location freedom and choice. And when you understand that, it's actually quite liberating, and it acts as a real spur to move you forward. Okay, the third question I want to ask you is, what are you like in adversity? Can you persist even when things go wrong? Because learning how to start and run a business is a pretty steep learning curve. There's a lot to take on at every turn. Technically, from a marketing perspective, dealing with people in the way we deal with people online, usually via email. There are many things that you may not be used to, and that will come as not necessarily a shock, but certainly have a learning curve associated with them. And as you work through the learning, things will go wrong along the way, right? As sure as night follows day, you won't go from 0 to hero without a hitch. That much I can guarantee. But if you're prepared to persist even when things do go wrong, then you set yourself apart from the vast majority of other people who aspire to run their own business, because most people can't deal with failure, even micro failure like that. Failure is a necessary part of success. Nobody succeeds without failing first, right? So get over yourself with regards to that, and if you can do that, as I say, you position yourself really well to succeed. And finally, are you excited about the future? Are you realistic in your initial goals, and do you honestly believe you can do this with the right direction and with the aid of picking yourself up a few times when you fall down? If you do, and if you are, then brilliant, because I really think you're going to get some value out of this series, and I think you might surprise yourself in terms of how much progress you can make in a relatively short space of time. So I make no apology for this being quite a protracted introduction around mindset, because I honestly believe that the difference between success and failure is not outside but inside. It's between your ears and behind your eyes. So if you're motivated and you're ready to go, then brilliant, we're on our way. Okay, so the first thing that you need to consider in business, when starting a business, is the market. And you need to think about doing your market research, your due diligence, right? If you don't do this, it doesn't matter how beautiful your website, it doesn't matter how amazing your product is. If nobody is interested in buying it, you might as well have a beautiful boutique in the middle of the Sahara Desert, right? There's just no point in shortcutting to product. You have to do your market research. Luckily, market research is not difficult, and it's not expensive. In fact, it's free and easy, and I'm going to show you how in a minute. But yes, don't ever create a product or start a website when you don't absolutely know that there's a market for it. The work that you do in your business will be pretty much exactly the same whether there's 100 or 1 million or 10 million people interested in your product. So you need to choose the bigger but the right sized market when you know that that market exists. And that's why I say choose the bigger market as long as there's not too much competition. So how can you tell if there's too much competition? Ask Google. Yes, I appreciate that you probably expected something of a more technical nature in response to such a thorny subject as market research, but seriously, if you want to find stuff out, the big G is probably going to help you in that regard. Let me just switch off my email. Apologies for that. Okay, so with regards to the big G, there are two places we can go within Google's cavernous online presence to assist us to understand about which market is appropriate, and I'll show you both of those now. Just need to get away from the presentation a moment. Okay, and here we are at a familiar place for most people, I presume, Google. This is the .co.uk version, which is fine, and as you can see in the search bar I've got how to find stuff out. Now what I'm going to search for here is Google keyword tool. And I'm going to go with the first answer, just checking that against this second one. They've got .co and .com. Right, now I'm not signed into Google. If you've got a Gmail account or whatever, then things might be ever so slightly different, but they shouldn't. They should be broadly the same. So in this case, I'm going to have a look at golfing, and I'm going to type in better golf, if I can spell. Right, and I could type in more terms there, or I could type in the name of a golfing website in here, or I could choose a category from the drop down. But in this case I'm just going to go with the phrase better golf, in other words, how to improve your golf. I'll say only show ideas closely related to my search items, and the defaults here are set up for English and United Kingdom, and also for desktops and laptops. That's fine, I'm not going to change any of the defaults. Now I've got this capture thing, and I don't know about you, but I'm finding them increasingly difficult to read. That second one, I'm actually going to, I'll try this. I think it's that, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if it isn't. Yes, it isn't. Right, so let's try this again. Okay, right, great. Alright, so that has now gone away and found some search results, and what I'm interested in is a combination of two things. I want to know which of these so-called keywords, which of these words that people search for in Google has a combination of a sufficient number of monthly searches and a sufficiently low amount of competition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search. You can order them by clicking on any of the column titles. So I'm going to order by local monthly searches. Remember, this is UK only, and there are a couple of quite interesting elements here. Firstly, I'm quite surprised that how to golf. I'm surprised that the highest search volume, 3,600, is roughly 120, is it, a day? So no, that would be pretty good traffic. If you could get 3,000 people to your site each month, that would give you a start. I would have expected these terms to have competition high, but they don't. They have medium. So these are potentially search terms or words that we could try to build a website presence around. How to golf better. I mean, that's a good term, I think. Working down and acknowledging the fact that we would probably get less visitors, website visitors, as a consequence, we can see that there's a couple of low competition search terms here that still get reasonable traffic, and that is get better at golf and how to get better at golf. So I'm going to make a note of these. Just pull up a little notepad file. So I've got at the top, I've got how to golf better and golf better. And then lower down I've got get better at golf and how to get better at golf. Get better at golf. How to get better at golf. Okay, now these are some keywords that I'm going to have a look at in a moment. So Google is telling me that these terms have a reasonable number of monthly searches, number of people search for them each month, and the competition is something other than high. Now in the first instance it might make sense to search to work around low competition terms as long as there is some traffic, and in this case the two would be get better at golf and how to get better at golf. But one of the things to note is that there is quite a lot of competition for all of these terms. So, and there's something else that we can do here, which I'll come on to in a moment, which in the golf niche I would recommend doing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my my search bar, my Google bar, and I'm going to type in how to get better at golf, and I'm going to turn off the personalized search there. There are 327 million search results. Yikes. And the number one search term is from a website called World Golf, which is probably an authority site, probably a very hard site to move off the top. So then I'm not entirely sure why Google is suggesting that this is a medium competition search phrase, because it looks very competitive to me. I'm going to try how to golf better, and this one's interesting for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the number one ranking website, just looking at the domain name, and also the fact I had a look at it already, doesn't look that difficult to rank for. And if we look down the page at the kind of sites that are on here, I think this one looks promising. The second thing that appeals to me about this particular page is this pink area here. These are sponsored links. These are adverts that people are paying for. And then across the right hand side there are more adverts that people are paying for. So this tells us two things. Firstly, it tells us that potentially this is a search term that we could try to build a website presence around and get traffic for. And secondly, it tells us that it is a commercial search term. And what I mean by that is that if there are adverts here, then people are prepared to pay for this information. If people are paying to advertise here, then other people will pay to buy those products. So this is good. So okay, so that I hope has shown you at least in basic terms how Google's keyword tool works. I mean, essentially the easiest way to find out how it works is to play around with it. So as I said, go to Google, search for Google keyword tool, and you'll get to a page like this, and then you can try stuff out. Let's just punch in horse racing systems for fun, see what we get. And we can see as a search term it gets some reasonable traffic, which is good if you've got websites around horse racing systems, as I may have. Okay, so that is keyword research. Let me get back to my presentation, and I've shown you adverts down the page as well within that brief aside into Google. So this is the first stage in your market research. There are other things you can do, of course. There's a brilliant tool called Market Samurai, which you can get a free trial version of, I believe. I would recommend taking a look at that if you're serious about this. The paid version costs about £100, so it might not be for everybody, but you don't need the paid version anyway. You can use the free version to do your research. Right, now one of those golf markets was too competitive, and that's quite a good sign. Firstly, because if it's competitive, that means there's money in that market usually, and secondly, if it's that competitive, there are probably opportunities to go deeper into the market than just the top level. So let's look at some examples of what I'm talking about here. First example of a market deep dive is, let's use our golf market. Golf, everybody knows golf is a massive market, but there are lots of areas of golf that appeal to subsets of the golfing community. The one I've exemplified here is improving your sand game, bunker play, traps as they call them. I believe I'm an absolute torrid golfer, so but yes, so sand play is one example of a term that we could maybe look at building a site around. So let's punch that into Google and improve bunker play. Let's go with that. And we can see there are a bunch of videos here, and the other sites, there's a PGA site, but it's a general mix. There's a blog, a Google hosted blog in position number 9, and an e-zine article, which is on an article directory in position 10. So this is definitely a term that you could rank on the first page for. What about improve close range pitching? I don't even know if that's something that people ever talk about in golf. That's brought up a whole load of baseball terms. I'm betraying my golfing ignorance here. Anyway, the point the point that I'm badly making is that golf as a market consists of many sub-markets, such as sand play, bunker play, pitching, putting, driving, stance, finding a ball in the woods if you're anything like me, and so on. So if you find there's too much competition when you start, then dig down and see what you see. Here's another example: dog training. It's a massive market. Lots and lots of people have dog training websites and products online, and lots of people are searching for dog training help and guidance. Within dog training there are various subsets. Dog agility training is one. House training puppies is another. Training greyhounds is another, and so it goes on. Stop my dog barking would be another one. There are many markets within the dog training arena. Here's a third example: horse racing. That again is a very big market, but horse racing betting specifically is a smaller market. It's a sub-market, and within that, here are some examples: laying systems, trends, and stats are all sub markets of horse racing, and all of them have their buyers. I know this personally, and if you follow my stuff for any length of time, you will probably know that too. The point here is, don't be discouraged if you find that there's a lot of high competition sites when you first look at an area that you're interested in, because you can generally drill down to a lower level where competition is shallower, and your prospects of making a meaningful and financially gaining inroad are higher. Right, this has been quite a heavy going session today, probably the most heavy going of all the sessions. So if you've come this far, then well done. I would encourage you to watch, to go away and do something else for a bit, and then come back and watch this again and make some notes. There are some important elements in here which if you take note of, will set you very much on the right course to go forwards. So to wrap up, I want to be clear about something here. I know when we talk about sub niches like improving your bunker play, or a laying system, or puppy house training, you might be thinking, how could that possibly be a life-changing business? But believe me, these markets are pretty big, and I know plenty of people online who have one good product, generally in the betting market, and they make a living off that product. They may or may not even do anything around blogging and building their community, because they may or may not be interested to do that. You don't have to do that. That's personal preference. But the point is that what might seem like a kind of a micro money opportunity can be a £30,000 to £50,000 a year business, and it's important to keep sight of that when you're working through these processes. One of the probably the biggest difference of opinion I have with the gurus, if you like, in the online business or internet marketing space is that they many of them suggest that it's okay to find a niche wherever you can, find a market wherever you can, as long as there's money in that market and the competition isn't too strong, then you crack on with that. I disagree wholeheartedly, and the reason I disagree is because you're going to have to spend some time and effort in this place with these people, writing about this stuff, learning about this stuff. And if you don't have some kind of entry level knowledge and some sort of a passion for the subject at hand, you're going to have problems. And I say that unapologetically, and you know, this is a point where you need to be thinking about what your passions are, what your hobbies are, which subjects you're interested in, and you need to be thinking about which of those you can work with going forwards, because if you don't have passion for something, this is going to feel like a lot of hard work, and you may as well just stick with the hard work that you already do in your day job. To give you some hope around this, if you go into your local WH Smiths or Waterstones and you look at the magazine rack, you'll be astonished, well, at least I was astonished at the breadth and depth of subject matter available on those shelves. There are numerous titles for heavy farming vehicles, steam engines, crochet and embroidery, you name it. There are people out there who are interested in it. So if you're fascinated and passionate about one of those subjects I just mentioned, you're probably in a great deal of luck. Obviously, go away and do your research in the way that I've shown you, and I hope that you will find an area of the market out there that you are passionate about, and that you would be happy to spend time working with. And finally, just a quick reminder that the best internet business tool on the planet, pretty much, is Google. So use Google and use the keyword tool, use the general search in there, and I hope that you will find a market that you're interested and excited in, and then you'll be ready for next time when we talk about blogging. Until then, happy researching. This is Matt Bisogno saying bye for now.